There's a few exciting Nintendo Switch stories we have to talk about today, starting with a surprise game collection that I don't think anybody was anticipating from Konami at yesterday's Sony State of Play event, and it will be coming to the Nintendo Switch platform. Then we also have to cover a big update when it comes to Nintendo's expansion into their Super Nintendo World theme park, as we can expect it to hit the US in 2023. Then the big talking point for today's video is a brand new discussion that is popping up online around the quality of Nintendo's games as we zoom out and look at their full year of 2021, and we have to talk about what this really means for the future of Nintendo Switch games going forward. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we got a few exciting different stories to get through today, and we have to kick it off with a conversation that actually spawned from yesterday's Sony State of Play event, as it was roughly packed full of 20 minutes worth of just straight up gameplay announcements. And I will just quickly comment on the overall format of this event. And I definitely, while I wasn't like extremely hyped for all the games that came out of this event, the pacing and the format of it was absolutely spot on. It felt a lot more akin to what we see with Nintendo Directs, and that's what I like to see, because I think these gaming companies are finally starting to realize that us gamers care about games and the brand new game announcements or new gameplay footage. And when you focus on that more than a lot of people talking and explaining the project, I think it just works better overall. And so this event was a very decently entertaining one for me personally, and a big surprise announcement that came out of it was Konami actually delivering Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection that has over 13 classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games. Like, this is a awesome win. We know that Konami does not do very much in the world of video games nowadays in terms of all of their incredible IPs that they own, and we very seldomly see them release new installments for these IPs, and there's a lot of work that hopefully will eventually get done in the future on these. But one thing you at least have to commend them on and take a step back and look at is the fact that they have been most recently very good at bringing back classic games that fans want to play again on modern platforms in the form of collection packs, as obviously we had the Castlevania Advance Collection hit most recently, and that's like a super quality collection of Castlevania fans to go through if you like that game at all. And I expect no less from this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. But the surprising thing about it is the 13 games that's so many games to begin with, and you know, it's going to launch at a $40 price point. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a steal. And to quickly read through the list of the games together, just so you guys are all on the same page with what is being offered here, it is the following games lineup with a mixture of arcade exclusives, NES, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis, even Game Boy included in here in this collection. So let's read through this list together. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade Edition, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Turtles in Time Arcade Edition. Then we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles NES Edition. Number 2, the arcade game NES Edition. Number 3, the Manhattan Project NES Edition. Tournament Fighters, the NES Edition. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time Super Nintendo. Tournament Fighters Super Nintendo. The Hyperstone Heist Sega Genesis. Tournament Fighters Sega Genesis. Fall of the Foot Clan Game Boy. Number 2, Back from the Sewers Game Boy. And number 3, Radical Rescue on Game Boy. So I think it's a pretty safe bet just to declare that if you are at all a fan of classic Turtles games, that this is a absolute day one purchase, and really a steal of 13 different classic games coming to the Nintendo Switch, which can of course be played portably or in docked mode. And these are the perfect type of games to own as part of your collection if you are a fan of these. So I will be picking this up on day one. I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below if you will be picking up this collection when it releases in 2022. And bonus question, let me know if you're getting it physically or digitally, because it will be sold in both. And this one for me, I will absolutely be picking up physically for the Nintendo Switch. So I want to hear from you guys on all your thoughts and feelings on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the Cowabunga collection in the comments down below. Now, the next story we're talking about today will really be an exciting one for fans all around the globe, but specifically if you're located somewhere in the US right now, as up to this point in time, the Super Nintendo World theme park has only officially launched in Japan. And while I've been, waiting to take my trip over there one day, I was hopeful, as I've heard the talks that there will be room for expansion here in the US. And we now have an official statement and confirmation from Nintendo that Super Nintendo World will open at Universal Studios in Hollywood in in 2023, and this is just an exciting way to see Nintendo continue to expand their incredible brand and all of the incredible IPs that they've created over the course of time, and really the nostalgia that they've created for generations like mine that grew up with it, and an entire new generation that they are bringing in to their diverse lineup of products. And this is one thing that we can see Nintendo continue to expand into in other ways to generate revenue besides just their first party games being sold on the Nintendo Switch, as when they have a console that is this successful, they are generating revenue hand over fist, and they can look at a lot of different strategic means to actually generate revenue positively for the company, which for us Nintendo fans at the end of the day ultimately means better games and better quality everything overall, not to mention some very fun experiences to be had at things like the Super Nintendo theme park when it does launch here in 2023 in the US. And to kick off this conversation, I do want to hop over to VGC and read through the exact details of what's been revealed and when we can expect any kind of future updates. So let's quickly read through this article together. Super Nintendo World will open at Universal Studios Hollywood in 2023. The park will be the first to open outside of Japan. The Nintendo-themed area, the first of which opened in Japan last year, allows players to experience the world of Mario, purchase exclusive merchandise, and ride Mario-themed attractions. It's currently unclear which of Japan's attractions will come to the US park. Hollywood was likely to be the first of the US-based Super Nintendo World attractions to open. Another is planned for Florida at Universal Orlando's Epic Universe theme park. The Hollywood Park has already started selling Super Nintendo World merchandise ahead of its opening, marking the first time theme park related items have been available outside of Japan. However, Inside the Magic reports that the land space being used for Hollywood's Nintendo World is smaller than its Japanese counterpart, which could lead to some attractions being cut. Yoshi's Adventure, the family ride which takes place both indoors and outside high above the park, seems to be missing according to a construction video posted last year. Last year, Nintendo officially confirmed a Donkey Kong expansion for Japan's Super Nintendo World. So clearly this is just a good news story at the end of the day, because now more people around the globe will have access to participate and have fun experiences and create memories together at something like a Super Nintendo World theme park. And I personally will be very excited to check it out after it is opened up in 2023. It does sound like at this point in time, we don't know what part of the year it will actually go live and launch and open in, but it does sound like 2023 is the year. And it'll also be interesting to see which rides are directly included from Japan's theme park and which ones may have to be cut due to the size constraints and maybe it not having every single attraction that's there. But I still think just getting this conversation started and the ball rolling is really exciting, and I will be curious to see how the Hollywood one ultimately compares to the Orlando one when we get that later on. So you'll have literally the East Coast and the West Coast to choose from in terms of Nintendo themed attractions, and I just think that is a huge win at the end of the day. I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below whether or not you're excited for this like I am, what expansions you hope we see Nintendo deliver next, as clearly the Japan world will be getting a Donkey Kong expansion next, but past that we really don't know what the plans are. And imagine a world one day where we can talk about going to a Legend of Zelda themed section of Nintendo's theme park. Like that for me will be a moment to remember for the rest of my life and a dream come true, and I'm hopeful that we will see it happen within the next 5 to 10 years, whatever it ends up taking. But I'm here for it, and I'm very excited for this expansion to be officially unveiled and confirmed for 2023. So please share all your thoughts and feelings on this topic in the comments down below. Now, the last story we're talking about today is an interesting one, as it has a lot of fans talking online about the overall game quality for Nintendo going forward, as there has been a big update to the Metacritic site, which, if you guys are unfamiliar, is basically the biggest official critic review website for things like video games, even movies, and they do include user scores in there. But of course, if you are an accredited critic, that's kind of the bigger thing that people look at when a game launches. And we still have Ocarina of Time sitting at the top of the charts as the best Metacritic reviewed game ever, and so there's a lot of history when it comes to a site like this. We recently had Elden Ring top the charts at 97, which is a very rare score to see go live on that type of website. And the reason Nintendo is in the news with this one today is they have fallen quite far down the list compared to what a lot of people would expect when you think of all the quality games that did come out from Nintendo in 2021, but yet you look at them and they are far beneath other companies on the list, such as Activision Blizzard, Bethesda, Capcom, Capcom, Bandai Namco, Sega, just to name a few. Like, they are number 14 overall, and it has a lot of people worried, well, what's going on here with Nintendo's games? Are they just dropping the overall quality? And, you know, my first take on this is that I don't think it's that. We have to really unpack the details and look at it from a different angle to get a clear picture of actually what's going on with this website and why overall the future of Nintendo Switch games are not in a downward trajectory in terms of quality, at least in my opinion, as I think that 2022 will clearly turn the tides with some of the games that we have planned and slated for release this year. But I do want to kick off this conversation by hopping over to Nintendo Everything, where they have a brief breakdown of the history of Nintendo and this annual Metacritic score and where they're sitting now compared to years prior, and then also look at some data around some of the other developers or publishers rather that are sitting on this list and how it might give you a little bit different perspective if you look at all the data out there. So let's quickly read through this together. Nintendo falls outside of the top 10 in Metacritic's 2021 Game Publisher rankings. Metacritic published its Game Publisher rankings for 2021, and it includes some interesting news about Nintendo. Xbox Game Studios, Sony, and Humble Games make up the top 3. We also see other familiar names like Capcom and Sega in the top 10. Nintendo, however, is a few places beyond that, sitting at number 14. Nintendo has actually fallen continuously over the past few years. Although the company ranked second in 2017, the Big N dropped to 4th in 2018 and 2019, then 9th in 2020. Now, to quickly read through the rankings themselves by company, we have Microsoft sitting at number 1, Sony at number 2, Humble Games at number 3, Activision Blizzard 4, Bethesda Softworks 5, Capcom 6, Bandai Namco 7, Sega 8, Electronic Arts 9, 505 Games 10, Devolver Digital 11, Square Enix 12, Dungeon Entertainment 13, and Nintendo at 14. And we will stop there, as clearly Nintendo is the focal point of this list. But one quick comparison example that I want to make when you look at something like an Activision Blizzard, who sits at number 4 on the list, versus a company like Nintendo, but you put them on the exact same rankings based off this point system that Metacritic goes by, is the following. If you look at Activision Blizzard's releases of published games in 2021, while it is on multiple platforms, actually all platforms for these games outside of one of them, it's only 3 separate titles officially published from Activision Blizzard. At least that's according to the Wikipedia page. I couldn't find any other info because Diablo 2 Resurrected was released also in 2021, and I can't find that included on this list. So there could be other Activision Blizzard titles that came out that I'm missing, but this example still stands, as if you look at their releases, it's Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Of course, that came out on every platform. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 also came out on every major platform, minus PC. Then Call of Duty Vanguard also came out on every single platform, minus the Nintendo Switch. And if I'm not mistaken, those different versions of those games get their own individual Metacritic score, so it kind of creates a different scenario. Whereas if you look at Nintendo's lineup of notable releases, they definitely had a wide variety of different style games. I mean, we saw everything from Skyward Sword HD to Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, all the way to Metroid Dread. Like, there's definitely a wider scope on what Nintendo sets out to accomplish in a single release year than what is a typical company would. And I personally just don't think that this is anything to be alarmed about or talk about how Nintendo's games are dipping in quality. The one thing that you can call them out for is their lack of graphical capability on the Nintendo Switch base hardware, as clearly it is running off of a Tegra X1 that was created in 2015, then sold in the Switch in 2017, and Nintendo has always relied heavily on gameplay as opposed to graphical performance. And I do think in 2022 you can stand to argue that we are very close to getting to that time limit where they do need to put out more powerful hardware, but the games still play great in most cases, and Nintendo is so unique in how they deliver their gameplay experiences that, for me personally, I'm not alarmed when I see something like a 14th spot on Metacritic in published games from Nintendo. And I clearly think that, as I mentioned before, the year of 2022, they're probably going to bounce back pretty heavily with that score, as I do think a lot of the critic crowd out there will heavily enjoy games like Breath of the Wild 2, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Splatoon 3. Like, we're going to have a lot of heavy hitters, not even to mention Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Like, there's a ton of quality stuff to come this year. So at this point in the video, guys, I want to hear from you personally on what you think of all the different stories we talked about today. Will you be picking up the TMNT Cowabunga collection? Are you hyped for the new Super Nintendo World theme park expansion hitting the US? And also let me know what you think about Nintendo and where they fell in their 2021 Metacritic score rankings. Is it something something that you care about at all, or is it something that you think people are probably just making this a bigger deal than it really is online? That's kind of what I'm thinking about it. So I do look forward to hearing from you guys, regardless of where you fall on all the issues today, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Make sure you check out yesterday's video if you haven't already, where we discuss a surprise Nintendo Switch game delay and the exciting news that F-Zero X will be the next game to join NSO Plus expansion pack in terms of N64 games. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.